What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have another review for you guys, and this time it's on the Adidas X Crazyfast Plus. And now I have used these boots for quite a bit. I feel like I've used these more than other boots, and it's a good boot, but I have some like mixed opinions about this boot, which I will share in this review. And like always, we'll talk about the upper, the sole plate, the stud pattern, the fit, the sizing, and everything you want to know about this boot. I'll do my best to talk about it. Hopefully I can give you guys a good amount of information if you guys are looking to purchase this pair of cleats. Also, make sure to like this video if you guys don't mind. I would really appreciate that. Alright, so first we'll talk about the upper, and the upper itself is extremely thin. It's very like paper thin, and there's no padding whatsoever. So if you guys want like the most barefoot touch on the ball, this is the boot to get. It's super thin. It's by far the thinnest out of any like current boot out right now, like in terms of like models you can get. And this boot, it's kind of it is pliable, but it does feel a bit plasticky to the touch. Kind of just wrinkles. I don't think the mic is picking it up, but yeah, you even see how the way it like moves. It does like feel a bit plasticky, but overall it's still pretty like pliable and soft. And because it's so thin, it just folds on itself. There isn't really any structure. But you do get this internal cage right here, which is like this like suede like cage that we've seen before from like Adidas. And as you guys can see, it's kind of like see-through. You guys can see my finger right there. Yep. And yeah, this like suede like liner, well, this cage is there, and it does have some cutouts, so there is some structure to the upper. But I will say it's not like overly structured. I would say like in terms of performance, it does lack structure compared to like a Vapor 15. I feel like that's like has more lockdown to this. Obviously, since this upper is super thin, I did expect that the upper won't be as structured, and sometimes I did feel a little bit of rollover in the upper, but I kind of expected that just because it's so thin. I feel like the structure and the lockdown was enough. I didn't really find myself slipping all that much, like having too much of a like rollover. It was just like on those extreme like cases where I did like cut really hard, and I did feel a little bit of rollover, but for the most part it was okay. Moving on to the tongue, like this tongue is extremely thin. It's like this microfiber tongue, and it's really like has no structure, just folds on itself. You guys can see it just hanging on by these laces. And honestly, I don't that's the one thing I don't like about this boot is the tongue. I feel like the tongue's way too thin, and for me, like the laces originally were a lot thinner, and I did get a lot of like lace biting, especially when like tying them really tight. And so I decided to switch them out, and I got these laces, which are still thin, but they're thicker than those, and I don't get as much as lace biting as the ones that they come in. Also, the boots themselves do come with extra laces, so I would recommend changing the laces if you guys do like hate like that lace biting sensation like on top of the foot, just because it did feel uncomfortable. Especially you do want to tie your laces tight so you get the good amount like of lockdown. And also, one thing that did happen to my boot, and I think it was just a defective, but I did like get a tear here in the tongue. It's kind of difficult to see, but here you guys can see the tongue actually like stitched off. So right now it's kind of stitched from like the middle and the rest of it. And I feel like long term, I feel like it will come off. Honestly, don't know how it happened. I'm guessing I pulled the tongue too hard when I did tie my laces one time. And honestly, I didn't really notice it until like afterwards when I was just looking at the boot. Yeah, I would just say just be careful when pulling the tongue, just because, like I said, it is a very thin tongue, and it's only stitched from the bottom. So I would just say be very careful with that. And also, because this tongue is super thin, it does like bunch up on itself, so that's why you do have to like pull it just so it straightens, so there isn't like weird like overlays and like weird spots on it. So that's why you do have to pull that tongue kind of hard. But I would, like I said, just be careful with that. And then the heel liner here, it feels really nice and soft. You do get this like padded suede like liner, and I feel like it's a good amount. It's not overly padded, and it's not like lacking padding. I feel like it's really comfortable, and I did really like it. All right, and now we have the sole plate. The sole plate of this boot, it has like really nice responsive snappy sensation. It kind of keeps you on your toes. If you guys see, there's like a curvature to it, so this boot kind of keeps you on your toes, which I kind of like. I didn't really mind it. If you guys do like that snappy sole plate, this is a really good one. And then the stud patterns, they're kind of like chevron studs, but they're kind of small, but they still do provide a good amount of bite one like pushing forward and stuff. And because I feel like since they are kind of on the smaller side, you're able to like twist and turn. And so I feel like overall this stud pattern is really good. It's not the most aggressive stud pattern. I would still say the Vapors are more aggressive than these, but these still do provide a good amount of bite. Alright, now in terms of fit, I do have a bit of a wider foot, and I'm still able to fit in these pretty comfortably. I feel like the upper itself, it is like a bit on the plasticky side, and it kind of just doesn't like mold to the shape of your foot. It does like look weird when like it's on feet, especially for me since I do have like a wider foot. They're just weird creases, and then here it kind of opens up. But that's kind of how the upper is, and there's no way of changing that even if you break these in. Like that's kind of how it will be, just because the upper is kind of like just made that way. But that doesn't really affect like the fit or like the performance. It still fits me fine. Like I don't really have any issues with these. And in terms of performance, it doesn't really affect it. It's just the way it looks for the most part. I feel like if you do have a bit of a wider foot, you'll be able to fit in these. And since this does have like a standard tongue construction, you know, you're able to like fit into these a bit better, and then just tie your like the laces tight, and like the opening is a bit wider. So for the most part, I feel like if you do have a bit of a wider foot, these will fit you. But again, they're just gonna look weird just because of like that's how the upper is. And that's like the benefit of having their standard tongue construction. It just accommodates more like foot types. So that's why I kind of really like that. And also one thing I forgot to mention in terms of the upper, it is kind of slick for the most part. But here in the like stripes, you do guys see like there's some dots. And it does provide like some like texture. It's not really grippy or anything. It's just like more like a rough texture, and I didn't really feel that on the ball, to be honest, but it is there, so you do get some type of like texture or some type of grip on it, but it's not like a crazy amount. Now in terms of sizing, I did go true to size and they fit perfectly, so I would just recommend you guys going true to size. So overall, I feel like this boot is really good. I feel like it just lacks a little bit of performance from like what I like. I just like something that's a bit more structured, that like holds my foot in place. Like I said, it's a really thin upper, so I did expect some like rollover on this boot. And if you guys are looking for like a super lightweight boot, like this is a really light boot with a super thin upper, like this is the one for you. This probably takes things to an extreme, like being like the lightest and the thinnest out of like every boot currently, in my opinion. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys did get some information on this boot if you guys are looking to buy this one. I will be doing a full comparison with this boot against the Vapor 15 because I know those are going to be the most popular cleats. So if you guys do want to be notified for that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. If you guys did find this video helpful, make sure to leave a like. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.